way to the team, it's going to end up being one of those moments that shows up on social media that we see over and over again.
Yeah, we all remember when President Trump had the mother, I think, of Laken Riley, who was killed by an undocumented immigrant, and Democrats didn't applaud, or a lot of Democrats didn't applaud. And that was not a great moment for Democrats.
Yeah, but the question is how long that moment sticks in voters' minds or anyone's minds after a night like tonight. I mean, obviously they're bringing guests tonight, certainly people like Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk. We know they're bringing people, family members of those who've been killed by undocumented immigrants. They are bringing these people to try to showcase what the president himself has focused on. Those will be the guests. They will try to have those moments. But oftentimes it can be the unscripted moments that become where that is the takeaway, or that is what people will remember in the standout moment from the next day. So we'll see what it is coming out of this. But also what's remarkable tonight, I was watching the president's address to Congress last year. It's how different it is and how different his standing is addressing lawmakers who are up for re-election going into this. Because last year he had a lot of momentum. Elon Musk was in the chamber. They were talking about Doge. We're not going to see that kind of message tonight. Instead, he's trying to sell a more skeptical public.
And when the president looks out in the audience, okay?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
The first row there.
Right in front.
Right in front, the Supreme Court justices, and he is furious at 6 of them, especially the 2 who voted against him on tariffs, whom he appointed to the bench. And I think one of the questions is he going to be able to contain his anger?
Neil Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, I think that is exactly the right question. And if there's an unscripted moment to keep your eye on, it's that. I remember I've been in State of the Union's past, and I have watched, you can see if you're sitting up in the balcony, they are right in front of the president, and they can actually almost talk to each other. They can see how their mouths are moving. You can understand the reaction that the justices are having. And it is entirely possible. You know, most of them practice being stone-faced, but it doesn't always happen that way.
One thing to look for when the president goes down the aisle, he either turns left, and that's what the Supreme Court justices are, and normally they say hello, or right, where his cabinet is. That's not the normal way to get up on the dais, but perhaps he'll do it. We'll be watching. We'll be watching. We're less than an hour away from the president's address. Any moment, the president is expected to leave the White House and head to the Capitol. Coming up, we're going to talk with a Democratic senator who says he wants to be sitting right in front of President Trump tonight after the president tried to get him thrown in prison.
In a divided America,
where do I fit?
You tell me, ask your partner.
Abby Phillip brings all sides to the table.
Can you name one thing you do differently?
The hypocrisy is so rank, folks at home. Classes in session.
To talk about the issues.
Congresswoman, it is false. The answer is 0.
The policies.
What is the Democratic Party about? Can you answer that question?
And the biggest debates to wrap up your day.
I hear what you're saying Trump believes in, but do you think it's a good idea?
Newsnight with Abby Phillip, weeknights at 10 on CNN and watch on the CNN app. Caitlin Collins is your D.C. source, bringing you unprecedented access to the White House and Capitol Hill. Follow Caitlin for in-depth political coverage and analysis. The Source, weeknights at 9 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, Emmy winner for Outstanding Recorded News Program. This week, Omar Jimenez is on the front lines of Trump's immigration crackdown. Have these tactics accomplished anything? The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, Sunday at 8 on CNN and next day on the CNN app.
Explore CNN podcasts for your daily dose of news, culture, and smart storytelling. And discover the conversations shaping our world. Follow and listen to CNN podcasts wherever you get your podcasts.
Tonight on 360.
The stories that matter. Anderson Cooper 360. Weeknights at 8 on CNN.
CNN This Morning with Audie Cornish. Weekdays at 6 a.m. on CNN.
I get to call someone I've looked up to a colleague.
We're 2 former White House correspondents with a tireless work ethic.
We're ready for whatever comes our way.
The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer and Pamela Brown. Weekday mornings at 10 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
How's your shift going? It's been a lot. This can be very stressful.
Charged. Clear. Is every day like this?
No comment. We're gonna take care of you, okay?
This is what we do.
Here's a breakdown of what you can find every weeknight out front. The real question comes down to, where is the supreme leader? Where are we when it comes to inflation? Direct, in-depth, and raw. Do you think that Pam Bondi is hiding something?
Hell yeah, I think she's hiding something.
Getting ahead of the biggest stories and giving you context you won't find anywhere else. Do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism.
Aaron Burnett out front, weeknights at 7 on CNN, and watch on the CNN app.
Dad, I don't need you to check on me.
I still love you.
Ow!
I just want to help.
Hey, Rooster! Oh, hey there!
The kids call you Rooster?
They think I'm like my character.
You're a best-selling author parents have actually heard of.
Nice washboard. This is college. You can be the Rooster if you want.
Crush it, Rooster! I want to crush it! Yeah, yeah!
In these troubling times, the world desperately needs a hero. Unfortunately, we've got him.
What to do when country go, ah!
Last week tonight with John Oliver.
30 seconds.
Wake up.
Breaking overnight.
Catch up.
New details and more questions.
Start your mornings here.
This is a pivotal week.
CNN News Central. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on CNN and watch at 8 on the CNN app.
And President Trump is set to leave the White House in just moments, head to the U.S. Capitol to address the nation. White House officials say the president is very aware of the stakes of tonight's speech. I want to go now to CNN's Dana Bash, who is inside Statuary Hall with Democratic Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. Dana?
Thanks, Anderson. And Senator, a lot of your fellow Democrats are boycotting, but you are intentionally going to be in the chamber tonight. Why?
Well, it's a different decision for me. The president tried to indict me like 3 weeks ago. He wanted to send me to jail. So I'm going to make a point that I'm still here. I'm doing my job, despite the fact that he's trying to violate my constitutional rights and the constitutional rights of millions, 2 million retired service members, that we're not going to stand for it. Grand jury said no to him. DOD is still, trying to demote me for something I said. But I'm going to be there because, it's my job. But I understand my other colleagues who don't want to be there. This president is, it's unprecedented, the stuff he is doing. American people are poorer and less safe because of him. And when you consider what's happened in L.A. and Minnesota, we've got a couple dead Americans. We've got other people that their rights have clearly been violated.
And you were telling me beforehand, you're not just going to be there. You're actually going to look for a good seat in the front so that you can make eye contact.
I want the president to know that he was unsuccessful. He's got a lot of stuff to pay attention to. I'm sure he told the Department of Justice to try to prosecute me and indict me. But I want to make sure he sees me sitting right there.
And you talked about the economy. You obviously have just been on the world stage. Do you want to hear something specifically about Iran as we're sort of waiting to see what happens with those talks?
I think he owes something to the American people, the Ford battle group especially. I mean, there's 2 carrier battle groups over there right now in anticipation of something that this president has decided to do. He seems to think that dropping weapons, dropping bombs on things solves a lot of problems. This is not like what he tried to do with Midnight Hammer or Maduro. If you want to replace the IRGC, ultimately this will escalate. It's going to put Israel at risk. We could have a wider war in the region, and I'm really concerned about escalation. So I think he owes it to the American people to explain whatever rationale he has right now for whatever he's planning on doing. And certainly you don't want to ever put service members at risk. And I don't know what his decision is. But I do think that if he decides to go in there with airstrikes, it's not going to get him the outcome that he wants.
Senator, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Always great to be on.
All right, you too. Good luck in there. Anderson, I'm going to just vamp for a second. Oh, I didn't even have to vamp for a second. You got here very quickly. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican of Oklahoma. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm only 5'9". I don't typically stand beside people I look somewhat tall with. So.
And I'm not wearing high heels. So
okay.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Senator, what do you want to hear from the president? You're close with the president. You speak with him a lot. I'll ask you this way. Have you explained to him how important it is for the American people to hear that he understands what they're going through economically right now?
You know, the president and I talk quite often. I have not asked him a question about the speech for the purpose of not wanting to leak any of it. But I believe what the speech is going to probably be about is about what we've accomplished the last 12 months. It's amazing when you start talking about the borders, you start talking about the direction of the economy, you start looking at the border security, the trillions of dollars that is going to be invested in manufacturing, and the largest tax cut in American history. So I feel like the president's going to be talking about that, and then where the country is moving, at what the next 3 years are going to look like, building upon the success he's had the last 12 months. So. And I know he is laser focused on the economy. The economy means making it affordable for everybody that lives in the United States to be able to achieve their dreams and provide the needs for their families.
So you think he's laser focused on the economy. Every poll, including CNN's this week, does not show that the public sees what you're saying. So what does he have to do tonight to change the perception of him on the economy?
I don't think he can do that through one speech. I think that's going to be continuing building up on the success. For instance, a lot of people don't realize that have a family of four, if you make underneath $73,000 a year, the new tax cuts that we put in place, you'll pay no federal income tax. Most Americans are going to receive some of the largest tax returns they've ever received, and that's just starting to begin. We're seeing bring home pay increase, and so we've got to continue trying to bring down the cost of goods down while we bring up the wages and increase the economy and the ability for people to find the jobs that provide accurate income for their families. And so I believe just continue explaining where we came from, because where we came from was a high of inflation of 9.1. Where we're at today is 2.4. So we're moving in the right direction.
So real quick, you're talking about a lot of numbers and data. What about how people feel? Does he need to express that?
I believe he'll probably talk about understanding where the American people are, but really the American people, the way they feel, they have the right to feel that way. We had 4 years from a disastrous economy with Joe Biden, and you don't fix this overnight. We're trying, we're working as hard as we can, we're moving in the right direction, and the president understands that. That's why he's laser focused on getting this working and getting the economy working for the American people.
Senator, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I know you have to line up to go in there with your colleagues.
We'll be walking right by you here shortly.
Okay, thank you. Anderson, back to you.
Dana, thanks very much. We are just moments away from President Trump heading to the U.S. Capitol for his State of the Union address. Coming up, we'll be going to the swing state of Michigan to learn what voters there will be listening for tonight.
The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, Emmy winner for Outstanding Recorded News Program 2 years in a row. CNN's best journalists share deeply reported stories. This week, Omar Jimenez is on the front lines of Trump's immigration crackdown.
How did it go from you sitting in your car to then being dragged away by agents?
Have these tactics accomplished anything? The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, Sunday at 8 on CNN, and next day on the CNN app.
The relationship between the FBI director and the president has always been complicated.
Sometimes they're in moments of deep collaboration. At other times, the FBI is investigating the president.
You don't want an FBI to try to destroy a president, but you also don't want a president to destroy the FBI.
No one is above the law in the FBI's eyes.
Standoff, the FBI, Power and Paranoia, premieres Sunday, March 22nd on CNN and next day on the CNN app.
When you buy a house, you're buying the neighbors.
It looks like an Osama bin Laden compound in Pakistan.
There is 6 to 8 chickens, 10 to 15 chicken, 20 chicken.
Oh, can't poop on me.
Don't talk to my child that way.
You will not talk over me.
Back off.
Rooster!
My attorney will bury you.
Hey, Rooster!
The kids call you Rooster?
They think I'm like my character.
Nice washboard. This is college. You can be the rooster if you want.
Cock a doodle doo.
Welcome to All There Is Live, a weekly live stream where I talk to others about grief and loss.
I don't think that I was ever prepared for loss.
You'll hear deeply moving and honest discussions with people living with life-altering losses.
We all have this common tragedy. Nobody's rushing to make it better.
Grief is something that will live with you forever. It changes you, but it doesn't always have to be a negative change.
Now streaming at cnn.com/allthereis.
Let's go! We go big! Hey! Big time jam! Everywhere we go, you know we go big! College basketball all season long on TNT, True TV, and stream on HBO Max. We go big!
What's happening?
We're ordering up jokes for the show.
Oh, I want to try. Anybody got a quarter? Yep. Is that how you get all your jokes for the show? No.
Have I Got News for You, Saturday at 9 on CNN.
Over the course of the last 40 years, I've never had an opportunity to speak about this in public before.
Disaster, the Chernobyl meltdown, Sunday on CNN and next day on the CNN app. Disney Plus, Hulu, and HBO Max. It's the best of everything together.
I hope you can walk because I'm not carrying you.
The definitive predator.
I miss all the gross stuff.
It's the ultimate bundle for an unbelievable price.
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at cnn.com/allthereis.
This is the work of a cold, calculating assassin.
In a competition like this, every chef is swinging for the fences.
This is the best lineup of bakers I have ever seen.
Series premiere of the Ultimate Baking Championship, Monday, March 9th at 9 on Food Network.
Looking for more from your next vacation? Come to St. Pete Clearwater, where you can rise and shine. Enjoy a few chips and dip. Discover arts and crafts, and wrap up with dinner and a show. In St. Pete Clearwater, find just what you're looking for, and then some. Book now at visitspc.com.
Welcome back. You're looking at live pictures at the White House, where any moment the president will start his short trip to the U.S. Capitol to address the nation. White House aides say they have been working for weeks to come up with new ways to lower costs for Americans for the president to unveil tonight. We'll listen for that. Let's go now to Saginaw, Michigan, where CNN senior political contributors Van Jones and Scott Jennings doing a special CNN voter live cast. Saginaw County was one of two counties in that crucial swing state to flip from Biden to Trump, and Michigan is home to several key midterm contests later this year. Tonight, Van and Scott are going to be joined by 10 voters, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, 2 independents, to watch the speech, discuss their reactions. Van, Scott, so what are you guys and the voters there looking for tonight?
Well, listen, what I was looking for doesn't matter. We got reality checked as soon as we got to this county. I think the president's going to have a tough time tonight because people are hurting economically. The energy bills have gone through the roof. They're saying that this fight with Canada means no tourists are coming down here. The tariffs have not paid off. So I think President Trump's got a tough road to hoe. He may be able to pull it off tonight, but I think that people in places like this is not Washington, D.C., buddy. We're in reality check America, and I think he's got a long way to go to get his own base excited about this economy, which is not working out. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, for me, there's 3 issues, Anderson, and I'm having conversations here with voters as well. I think the president does have an affirmative case to make on why his policies are turning things around. Frankly, he's going to have to continue to talk to people about the mess that he inherited from the Biden administration. It's one of the reasons we did have swing areas go back from Democrat to Republican in the last election. I'm expecting a lot of talk about immigration and also public safety. I think the president's best issue is still immigration. He's closed the border. He inherited a mess. He can I think, affirmatively claim that he has fixed it. I think the public safety aspect is working for him. Finally, we have amassed quite an armada in the Middle East, and we may be on the brink of launching not a small attack, but a large attack on Iran. I would expect the president tonight to tell the American people about why we have this much military firepower in the Middle East and why this might be the right time to finally take out that regime. Now, Van and I have been talking ahead of time. We've been pre-gaming it here in Saginaw, but we're going to have some conversation, Anderson, on CNN.com just before the speech. We're going to watch the speech together. and then we're going to get everybody's reaction. It's going to be a great night here in Michigan. This, as you mentioned, is a swing state. A lot of key political contests this year, and one of the reasons we're out here.
All right, Scott, Van, we'll continue to check in with you. You can check them out on CNN.com. As Scott was saying, my panel is here with me in Washington. John King, obviously the economy front and center tonight.
And the president's in a huge ditch. You heard Senator Mark Wayne Mullen with Dana earlier. The White House would be smart to listen to him, to try to look ahead to where we're going, because people don't feel good about where they are. And so can the president sell them that you're going to get a tax refund, things will be better in a few months, please be patient. But to say please be patient, you have to acknowledge that people are still hurting, and this president simply refuses to do it. He keeps saying affordability is over, affordability is a hoax from the Democrats. You can blame Biden all you want. He's been president for more than a year now, and we'll talk a lot about our poll numbers tonight and everybody else's poll numbers tonight. They're all bad for the president. But in our poll, 61% of Americans, that means a fair amount of Republicans, and a lot of Americans think his policies, Trump's policies, are taking the country in the wrong direction. If he's going to improve his standing, and if he does not improve his standing, Republicans will lose the House. They will, if the election were tomorrow, the Republicans would lose the House, period, and maybe the Senate. He has to convince people his policies are helping them. Right now, they think his policies are hurting them.
They also don't think that he is paying attention to the things that are important to them. I think it's the economy is obviously a big picture item, but when you look at the polling, he is underwater on virtually every single issue except for one, which is the border, which is basically a non-issue anymore for voters because Trump has essentially stopped border crossings from happening. But on everything else, they just don't think that he is focused on things that matter to them. And to me, that is more than just about what is the policy that he's going to lay out and can he go bullet by bullet point. It's all of the things. It's the East Room, the ballroom. It's putting his name on things. It's the distractions. It's the dropping bombs all over the world. I think people just see what's coming out of the White House and they're asking themselves, where is the president's focus? And they don't think it's on them.
I just got to quickly go to Caitlin, who has new excerpts from the speech. Caitlin?
Yeah, Anderson, my colleague Kristen Holmes was just sent some of the parts of the speech of the president is going to deliver tonight. We know it's going to be a lengthy one, so this certainly is not all of it. But there is one interesting part as you're looking through it. He's talking about prescription drugs. He's talking about the economy. He's talking about the Western Hemisphere, obviously a reference to Venezuela. So we'll see how he talks about that tonight, given the capture of Maduro. But there is also another interesting part where he brings up Minnesota himself. And part of the administration's justification for why they had that surge of federal agents in Minnesota in recent weeks and months. And part of that, Anderson, the president is expected to say, and we'll see how he delivers the line, according to a White House official, that when it comes to the corruption that is plundering America, there has been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community, the president will say, have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. He'll go on to talk about that and the partial government shutdown that's underway with the Department of Homeland Security. And Anderson, it'll be interesting to see how exactly he threads this, because obviously his administration faced intense criticism after the killing of 2 U.S. citizens at the hands of federal agents in Minnesota. It led to them changing who was in charge on the ground there, sending in Tom Homan, then eventually leading to the drawdown and that surge in federal agents who were there. But you're seeing the president still argue those claims about alleged fraud in Somali communities in Minnesota. Something that I should note has been prosecuted since the Biden Justice Department was in charge, that the administration has touted those indictments. That is something the president is expected to bring up tonight. And I should note, we know some Minnesota Democrats, including Ilhan Omar, are expected to bring people who came face to face with federal agents in Minnesota to be in the audience tonight. So that moment will be one to watch.
All right, Caitlin, thanks very much. The president is going to be leaving any moment. We'll obviously bring that to you live. Ron, what are you expecting?
Well, one thing I'm going to be watching is if he's going to try to justify the past, he's going to lose people. If he spends time on the future, which is here's what we're going to do to fix your problem, which means he has to acknowledge that the American people are hurting, that's a different thing. And I bet you he spends 2 to 1 on the past, and that's going to be a dead loser for him. Second is, look, this election's a referendum. It's a referendum on Donald Trump and the Republican Congress when you have both branches or both sides of Pennsylvania Avenue. I don't think this speech can change that. And I also think the other thing that's going to happen is he's underwater on the economy. He's underwater on his attention on the economy. They think he's focused on everything else. And he is going to be most passionate about the tariffs, of which the American people are done with. So his passion about something that the American people reject like a bad virus is going to actually set him back, and it's going to lose the confidence of the Republicans. They need him to be the cheerleader, and if he
So as the president gets in the beast, that your former boss named, right? It's a question of how does he take that framing and, in his Trump style, pivot to what matters to the American people. What matters to the American people are energy prices, what their take-home pay is in comparison to how things cost, affordability. How does he frame that? And how does he frame his tariff agenda, his deregulatory agenda, and his tax agenda in a way that benefits the American people? He's got to start owning those policies that the Republican Congress, Republican majorities put in place into law, and that they need to remind the American people the benefit thereof between now and Election Day.
Patrick, you would agree. No president thinks they get credit for what they've done. So that will start as his premise that I got to justify. You don't. If you only knew what I have done for you, you would love me more. And that is going to use way too much time where he's going to have to act like a
He has turned his two greatest assets, the economy and immigration, into liability.
Yes.
The whiplash of the tariffs, when you go out of Saginaw, Michigan, key districts in Pennsylvania, places where there are manufacturing communities, places where the farmer on this side of the road might like the tariffs because they protect American beef, but on this side of the road they hate them because of what it does to soybeans. Yeah, he's caused this whiplash out there, and he promised he would fix the economy like that. No president can do that, but he promised it. And then it gets to Abby's point, which I think she makes a very important point. The disappointment that he hasn't delivered on the two things that won in the election is leading to a broader unease.
And then also,
right? And if he talks about Somali fraud the way Caitlin just talked about it, you know, I've been around a long time, right? You solve fraud investigations with really good accountants and then really good prosecutors. You don't solve them with ICE agents harassing American citizens in the streets.
He's going to look like he's not, his attention is not where the American people want it. One of the undercurrents of all this polling beyond the headline numbers is they do not think he's laser focused. He is all scattered across the ball, from the ballroom that Abby mentioned to naming the Kennedy Center after himself. And they're
but
not
all that
focused
stuff
on them.
is a sideshow for us here in Washington. Let's just be honest.
Well, it's a
the
sideshow
meat of the
for the
action
American
here is
people,
how
too.
the
I
American
think that's
people
the
feel about the economy.
Yes.
And how they feel about the economy
and direction
is
of
the
it.
political power. This was the harm to the Democratic majorities in 2010.
Yeah.
John Boehner had one message for that election: where are the jobs? Effective enough to get a majority in the U.S. House. If this White House falls victim to that same mindset, that you just don't believe your lying eyes, right? Whatever you feel is not real, right? Which is the Biden line. That is a huge mistake and a political liability.
One important thing on the economy is that I think that this, to your point, this White House is about to do the exact same thing that the last White House did, which is to say, look at all these numbers, look at all these statistics, we're doing great. And there are some things that are true about that. Inflation is down. But there are other things that are happening in the economy. Foreclosures were up by double digits in January.
Utility rates.
We had utility bills. We have several months of economic data that actually don't exist or were incomplete for the last year. So what that's masking is what people are experiencing in their day-to-day lives. There were virtually no jobs created in this economy for an entire year, except in one industry, which is basically healthcare. There is a problem, and this White House would make a mistake.
Let me just explain what's going on. J.D. Vance is entering the chamber. Speaker Mike Johnson has just called the House to order upon the arrival of the Senate. So you're seeing all these senators now coming in. If you guys could just take us behind the scenes a little bit about, like, in the White House, what goes on, what has been going on today inside to prepare for this?
Well, obviously, you got not only speech preparation and any changes, but one of the other things is to get a president's head in the right place before. This is a big moment, obviously only given year. Every year it's a very big moment, but going into an election it's very big, with also all the anxiety and all the data out there. So getting his head, because in some prep he'll go off onto some tangent on the sidetrack, getting psychologically and the priority of what has to happen, and that is a key moment. And then the second thing is making sure that there is nothing that they will use to distract from, I think, setting the agenda. And the President of the United States, President Clinton was rewriting the speeches on the car ride. He had to go about 10 miles slower than the speed limit because he kept writing right to the moment he was walking up on the podium. And President Obama was done 2 days beforehand, didn't touch it.
But the speech like this is also, we're talking about environmental factors of the room. Mike Johnson, sitting behind Biden, had to apologize for eye rolls. We're in the subtle business, not just of what the big message is, but the reaction in the room. we see Democratic members of the House boycotting. I think that's a mistake, and I think it's a political liability for them. They have to. It was a mistake under Obama. It was a mistake under Biden when Republicans tried to play that game. They did not benefit. The members did not benefit, and the larger party had to answer questions for dumb members doing dumb things, which is kind of traditional in Washington. But tonight, it's going to be those subtle factors of what happens in the room. Who has that moment of standing up and saying something big they think is bold, but the general public looks at it and thinks that was really absurd?
I think one thing I would say, Anderson, how much time is spent on the future versus the past, good measure of where this is. Second, how passionate he is about a topic. If he goes overboard about tariffs, where the American people basically have a 30-mile, 50-mile-an-hour headwind, they don't want this. That's going to actually not make the speech.
As we're watching
the
Vice President, where does he stand in the power structure right now, do you think?
Well, he's a very influential vice president. If you talk to people in the White House, one of the interesting things in the midterm election year, he doesn't really matter except for his ability to go out on the road and raise money and support candidates. The problem is if the president is unpopular, therefore he is unpopular, right? Because he's Trump's vice president. That's no criticism of J.D. Vance. I would say the same thing about Kamala Harris. I would say the same thing about Al Gore. The vice president is a reflection of the president. So if the president's numbers are down, then the vice president. Now, J.D. Vance does have some popularity with the Trump base. One of the interesting things tonight, we'll talk about this throughout tonight, the president's numbers with Latinos are way down. The president's numbers with independents are way down. One of the president's immediate problems is his numbers with Republicans are down. He had 90% a year ago was his approval rating among Republicans. That's down to 82% right now. Midterm election is all about your base. If your people don't come out to play, if they're disillusioned for any reason, you lose. And Republicans are worried, whether it's the Iowa governor's race or Senate races, beyond just control of the House of Representatives, because of where that number is and because of where their own base is. I'll close with this. I talked to a very smart Republican strategist who knows Iowa like the back of his hand recently, who said, look, Democrats are juiced. They're going to come out of the woodwork. They're going to vote. They don't like Trump. They're energized. Every Republican you meet has something to complain about. It might be something different between him, and you, but every Republican you meet is mad about something, and every Democrat is, when can I vote?
And independents are breaking 2-1 for Democrats. We've gone 13 for 13 in all statewide elections.
Let's go back to Jake Tapper. Jake?
Thanks so much. And it is interesting to watch Vice President Vance there because, of course, Casey, he is the heir apparent.
The front runner in waiting?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of Republicans who would like to run for president in 2028 who won't even bother because J.D. Vance is so popular with the MAGA base.
Well, and I think that kind of underscores the question here about the president's popularity or lack thereof, because J.D. Vance being his vice president, the assumption would be he's strong potentially because President Trump all but endorses him. But if the president himself is weak, it's going to give a wider opening to somebody like a Marco Rubio, who clearly has, stepped into this bigger role. He's been on the world stage as Secretary of State, National Security Advisor. Clearly, while he's said one thing about his ambitions, his actions tell a different story. And so for J.D. Vance, there's not a lot you can do if you're vice president to change that dynamic fundamentally. But at the same time, it's very much on display here. And of course, we're continuing to watch this more senators streaming.
Yeah. And while you were talking about J.D. Vance, there was an image of Senator Ted Cruz, Republican of Texas, who would love to run.
To step into that breach?
Let me just hold that thought for 1 second, Caitlin. Let's go to Manu Raja, who's inside the chamber. Manu?
Yeah, and Jake, I am noticing a very noticeable difference in years past on the Democratic side of the aisle. There are far fewer Democrats here than I have seen in past Trump speeches. And compared to the Republican side, there are far more Republicans. This is coming, of course, as House Democratic leaders actually encourage their members to boycott this speech if they couldn't constrain themselves, if there was any chance that there could be outbursts, and a lot of them seem to have heeded that advice. And one person I am watching in particular is Congressman Al Green. He is seated right on the aisle in which Donald Trump will be walking down. Of course, he came last year, famously stood up, had an outburst, yelled at Trump about Medicaid, later was escorted from the House floor, censured by the House. Watch how he acts here, something Democratic leaders are hoping to avoid tonight, Jake.
All right, Manu, thanks so much. And we were just looking at images of the beast, the presidential limo outside the Capitol. There is the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune of South Dakota, as we prepare for the president to make his way in. Mark Warner of Virginia, Tim Kaine of Virginia, Tom Cotton. We're seeing some potential 2028 candidates themselves, Democrats and Republicans. Senator Tom Cotton was just there, Caitlin.
Yeah, a lot of Republicans with a lot on the line this year as well. And Jake, as you were talking earlier about, J.D. Vance and that prospect of 2028, one person who was also in the chamber that J.D. Vance greeted as the vice president walked in was General Dan Kane, the Joint Chiefs chairman, who the president shot down reporting yesterday that has concerns about what a complex military operation in Iran could look like. That is something that obviously the administration, we have made clear the president is weighing his choices there. He has not made a final decision yet. But we've heard from some people, including the president's former national security advisor, who say he does need to make the case to the American people if he's going to carry out some kind of extended operation. So we'll see what that looks like there. Obviously, there's Utah Senator John Curtis and all of these other Republicans filing into the room. As Monty was noting, the discrepancy in the number of Republicans who are there and the Democrats who are not.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting about that Iran conversation that you were just talking about, Caitlin, when the president met with anchors earlier today for lunch, he said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, but this was part of the discussion that we were allowed to share, was the idea that Tehran wants a deal, a nuclear deal, more than he does, but they just cannot bring themselves to say what he called a sacred phrase, we will not manufacture nuclear
weapons. But they have
weapons.
said that. I mean, they've claimed that. I don't think anyone finds it believable because they also said they weren't developing a nuclear weapon before. But we have heard from officials there who have said that. Maybe not in express terms that Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, his main envoys, have found sufficient.
Well, it's also a question of like I've been told there are like 15 to 20 layers of bureaucracy. It's not as though President Trump can call up and talk to the supreme leader of Iran, unlike the way he's able to do so with Putin or Xi or others.
And Jake, I was at the Munich Security Conference talking to a number of members of Congress and also world leaders, and there's a couple of dynamics here, and I think you're seeing some of it come out into public view with the reporting we saw about the Joint Chiefs of Staff yesterday and their concerns. And we just saw Senator Lindsey Graham a couple of minutes ago. He's been someone in the president's ear urging him to take the strongest possible military action. We're watching, that's Jack Reed, is the top Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee as well, right there. But for Graham, I mean, he was aggressive.
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but two of the president's least favorite Republican senators are in the same shot right there. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, who voted to impeach him after the assault on the Capitol in 2021, and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who also voted to impeach him. President Trump, it is said, can withstand a vote against his tariffs, can withstand against a vote against his tax cuts, but impeachment was a bridge too far.
Facing a significant primary challenge.
His controversial HHS secretary confirmed with Cassidy, and Murkowski did vote for the One Big Beautiful Bill, so they have helped him, even though he may not like them.
And he went after Cassidy anyway, I will say that. And Murkowski, of course, has proven her own kind of political bona fides that, it would be almost impossible to beat her in her home state of Alaska. But to circle back to, the Iran conversation, and I do think this is something that is hanging over this speech tonight, right? If there's this big question, if usually the speech, or often the speech is used to announce a new policy proposal, there have been a few policy initiatives that the White House has put out there ahead of this, but nothing with the scope and scale that we sometimes see with an address like this. Iran, however, and what is going on in the region is such a huge question mark. And there obviously were conversations about whether we would have seen action by the time we were all sitting down here tonight. There are questions about what, if anything, the president is going to say about his intentions in this address tonight. They seem to telegraph that actually the timeline was a few weeks out. But when I was in Munich, there are definitely people in the president's ear who are urging him, and Lindsey Graham is one of them, to take the strongest possible action, to take aggressive military action in Iran, to try to send a message to Putin and to Xi. But there are clearly also others, and you heard Rubio telegraph this when he left Munich and went on to other countries, Slovakia and Hungary, which sent its own message, by the way. But he was talking about the deal that they could potentially craft. And there's our Manu Raju there on that special shot that you get for a few seconds on the balcony.
One of the things, Caitlin, about what exactly President Trump wants out of an Iran deal, it has been telegraphed that they obviously want a commitment to end Iran's nuclear weapons program as opposed to the nuclear program. But there's also talk about whether or not they want regime change. Not just do they want it, of course they want it, but is that part of the deal? And I've heard conflicting messages on that.
Yeah, and it's not even clear exactly what they want. We've heard conflicting things from the administration. But watching this chamber tonight, and to Casey's point, what she was just saying, one thing I'm thinking about is, remember 1 year ago when the president was addressing Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene was there. She's wearing a red hat that says Trump was right about everything. She was one of the president's biggest supporters. And now they've had this major breakup, this huge falling out, not just over the Epstein files, of which survivors of his are in the room tonight, but also on issues like Iran, where she says the president isn't doing what MAGA wants them to do. He's not doing what the base wants. He's not paying attention to affordability and domestic issues. He's paying far too much attention to issues abroad than he is at home. And just to think of her there 1 year ago wearing that red hat, cheering for the president, and now obviously they've had this massive breakup. He's walking into a chamber where there is no Marjorie Taylor Greene, is something that just stands out, and how much can change in a year.
Let me bring in Kristen Holmes for 1 second, just because we were talking about 2028 possible presidential candidates, and we talked about Marco Rubio, we talked about J.D. Vance, we talked about Tom Cotton, and Kristen, there might be others in the Trump administration, I would think, who are at least thinking about it.
Yeah, Ted Cruz, Kristi Noem, these are all names that have been floating around. Obviously, Ted Cruz isn't in the administration, but he is close to the administration. And when I see here J.D. Vance sitting there, he's talking to Mike Johnson, the question that I can't help but wonder is, when does he actually get to launch a presidential campaign? I mean, all of these Republicans are on the sidelines right now. They have to get an okay from President Trump. And whether or not President Trump is going to give that to them remains to be seen. I mean, one of the things you have to remember is that President Trump understands that the second that he gives the go-ahead to run a presidential campaign for 2028, he officially becomes a lame duck. Yes, he is already a lame duck, but he has consolidated power. He believes that he is still wielding that power over these various members of his administration who do want to run for president. Once he gives that up, that really is the moment that we see a turn in the MAGA party and a turn from his tenure in the White House.
Interesting stuff, Kristen. Thank you so much. We saw images there of Senator Amy Klobuchar, a Democrat of Minnesota, who is going to run for governor of Minnesota. Tim Walz, the incumbent governor, who obviously there's Steny Hoyer, senior Democrat in the House, who is not running for re-election. And Tim Walz not running for re-election, even though there are no term limits for the position in Minnesota, but all that Somali fraud allegations against him, against the massive Medicaid and other fraud in that state took a toll. And that was a big topic. I think that's one of the reasons why the administration surged immigration officials, immigration guards into Minneapolis, which obviously resulted in some really ugly scenes and the horrible deaths of 2 U.S. citizens, Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And President Trump is planning on talking about Minnesota tonight, but not necessarily to talk about those horrible deaths that really shocked the country. But he's going to say, quote, when it comes to the corruption that is plundering America, there has been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. I'm not sure that figure is actually correct, but that's going to certainly be a controversial moment in the speech, Caitlin.
But one irony is that because of the deaths of those 2 Americans at the hands of federal agents, because of the surge of federal agents there over these claims of fraud, which is a real thing and should be addressed.
I don't know if it's $19 billion, but yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Although, by the way, the main guy prosecuting it in Minnesota resigned.
But that's actually my point, is that because of the deaths of those 2 Americans and how prosecutors there were told to handle that, the prosecutors who were handling those fraud cases and had been leading on a lot of that left that office. And so to the administration's point that is actually what they are trying to root out, what they want to get at, it actually didn't bear out that way, given the prosecutors who have been handling this actually left.
Anderson?
Jake, thanks very much. I want to check in with our Dana Bash, who is in Statuary Hall. Dana?
Yeah, Anderson, I was in this hall as the senators were filing in. It definitely felt different this year because there are a lot fewer senators who are going because so many Democrats are boycotting, doing other things, having a protest outside. I was kind of surprised to see Elizabeth Warren walking in, and I asked her, why are you going to the speech? And she said, I'm here for the people of Massachusetts. I know the president, is going to lie, but let him lie to my face. And so, that was certainly a noteworthy comment to hear from Elizabeth Warren, but it just kind of shows the different objectives and different strategies of the Democrats as they still try to figure out the best way to handle this president, which
and we're watching the diplomatic
has not been
corps
easy.
enter. We're watching the diplomatic corps enter right now. Dana, thanks very much. Back here with the team as we continue to watch inside Capitol Hill. The stakes for the president in the midterm. Let's talk about
Let me go through some of the numbers that show you the stakes for him are higher, meaning his numbers are lower for Democrats, Republicans, Trump first term. Let's just go through some of the numbers. First, just to look at the president over time. Trump has always operated in sort of a narrow band, right? When you look at his poll numbers, he's usually somewhere right around here. But look where he is right now. Low in his first term was 34%. He's right about there now, 36%. You cannot keep the House under Republican control if the Republican president of the United States is at 36% come November. And so then the question is, so how did he get here? Look at these drops. He won nearly half of the Latino vote in 2024. His approval rating among Latinos in February 2025 was 41%. It's 22% now. So the Texas redistricting plan throw the whole thing into question. If your Latino support is at 22%, is that a +5 or is it a +2 or a +3 because of those numbers? As I said earlier, he's gone from 90% approval among Republicans to 82% approval. Well, if you're trying to solve this problem, you might complicate this problem because he's also lost independence. So if he's doing things that appeal to Republicans to get his base back, then he's going to have a problem getting those independents back. And so let's look at this. Here's what gets really interesting if you look at the history. Look, Leo, look at these. These are different presidents who were under 50 when they delivered their State of the Union address, right? And so, George W. Bush had 43%. By the midterm election, he was at 35. Obama, in the first Tea Party year, 2010, had 49. He went down to 46. My point here is you look at all these presidents. To win the presidency, you got to be a good politician, whether you're George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, or Joe Biden. It is hard when you are the president in an election year to move these numbers because you're in a climate. No president has been able to move the numbers in the way Donald Trump needs to move them between now and November. Can he do it? He's a unique politician. He has been a phenomenon in our times. The last decade has been dominated by Donald Trump. But even Donald Trump couldn't do it in 2018. None of them could do it.
By the way, the Supreme Court is, members of the Supreme Court justices are coming in. Do you expect the president to be able to resist saying something directly to the Supreme Court justices on tariff policy?
Let's just assume the fact that this speech is over an hour and they're staring right in front of him in the front row. One is I don't think he's going to walk by him. If he does, he's going to give him the cold shoulder. Second, when he goes off script, and he always does, he just emotionally cannot manage himself not to say something to their face.
Well, this
right
is
then.
why we have to watch, and this makes it interesting. But the initial tease here is that the president's going to be talking about America 250, right? That could be an energizing pivot. And the assumption that we have here that he's going to just all be about the past and all the aggression of blaming every one of his predecessors may not actually be true. If he actually pivots and talks about the things that matter to the American people, reframe the tariff discussion around China and our strategic competition there, reframe national security around what is in America's national interest, and reframe the immigration challenges of delivering on what he proposed to do a year ago, then you actually can see something happen with this speech. That's what I'm looking for.
Patrick, the fair point, which is, can he actually beat the Donald Trump we're expecting to show up? And my view is he's going to be true to form. He's never actually ever surprised me on the upside. And I will say this: no speech past the sugar high changes the dynamics for the president. This election will still be a referendum election, and the president knows the last 2 years.
On the Supreme Court, there's 4 justices there. Of those he named, Amy Coney Barrett is there. Kavanaugh is there as well. Obviously, the Chief Justice is there. John Roberts and Kagan also is there.
Yeah, just to this point, no speech has ever changed the president's permanent structure of their numbers. His best thing he can do is get the Republican voters back engaged and keep the Republican members of Congress that are starting to wander away back closer to him. I have doubts.
Abby, on the Supreme Court, Neil Gorsuch is not there. The president's very mad at him. He's also expressed disappointment with Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett
who is there?
Yeah, who is there and has voted against him on a number of bigger cases, and so she's actually gotten the ire of a lot of MAGA folks. But I mean, despite I admire your wish casting of Representative McHenry, but I do not think that the president's going to not mention how angry he is about this tariff decision, because to Rahm's point earlier, the tariffs are a linchpin for Trump of not only his economic agenda, but also what he wants his foreign policy agenda to be. And that's been kind of taken away from him tonight. And this speech would have been a very different speech, I think, if his tariffs were
Looking
in
to Vice
place.
President's wife,
Usha Vance is sitting there in the audience as well. This would have been a different speech for him. And I think that he's very cognizant of that. In fact, a lot of the things that now he's left to rely on are things that I think are kind of thin. And this is one of the problems he has. He's talking about things like, looking at this, stopping large corporations from buying up housing.
The president's kid's a Baron and Ivanka, obviously.
He has said that this initiative is something that's going to bring housing prices down. He's done it by executive order, which he can't do. And now he's going to ask Congress to do it. Well, the American people have wondered, where is the leadership? Why not ask Congress to do some of these things over the last year and make them real, make them permanent? And I think that's one of the big problems that not only he has, but Republicans who
Well, the House has actually passed a housing bill, and the Senate has got a housing bill on the floor this week or next week. And so he is answering some of the questions. The question here for us is whether or not it can have an effect between now and the midterm election. That is the operable question for my friends, my Republican friends on Capitol Hill,
and ours,
and for the White House.
Look, the two points to this thing on the tariffs. He changes this speech, and in 30 days it changes his meeting with Xi. That's how devastating. He's going to be emotional about something the American people do not want.
Mr. Speaker, the President's cabinet.
Just heard the president's cabinet is now entering. Let's talk about the role of Marco Rubio. He certainly seems to have risen, or, I mean, how is he being perceived, do you think, by the president?
I think the best analogy is that meme on the internet of Marco Rubio sitting in the Oval Office wearing the hat of every possible job that there could be in the government. That is his role right now, is that he is the fixer of everything that President Trump wants to get done, whether it is wherever in the world that it is. And for him, that actually is probably a great thing, because it speaks to the confidence that the president has in him. It speaks to his competency and his ability to navigate this complex, MAGA ideology with real foreign policy. And that is not easy to do.
And there's Kristi Noem entering the House, where she serves. I served with her in Congress. But look at the visual here. So Democrats boycott. And what do you have? You have Republicans lining both sides of the aisle, which is not the norm for a State of the Union. You usually have Dems that are there super early and Republicans there super early, camped out.
They have their REI tent.
Oh yeah, and it's like they bring their breakfast, lunch, and snacks. It's a ridiculous thing. But they're all lined up there, and Republicans on both sides. You're going to see an enthusiastic response from that chamber. That had the Democrats been there, they could have actually delivered a separate message in this moment. And instead, they're leaving it to be much more of a rally for Republicans. I think that's an interesting visual that the Democrats gave away.
Russ Vogt, who's a very important
Tulsi Gabbard
member of the cabinet.
And there's Jameson Greer, the U.S. Trade Representative.
Yeah. I still think, going back to this, there's an anxiety that's in the country about the economy. There's an anxiety about the fact that the president is distracted from dealing with the economy, that his policies have set people back. And then you have this thing, given both what happened in Venezuela, what happened in Nigeria, what happened in Iran, about to happen in Iran, and it's never been explained. And this is a country with a nervousness and an anxiety that we're not
still got it up there test.
And I think the president of the United States knows that given this election, and given that if he doesn't turn the dynamics around with this speech and other actions, he's going to have a Democratic House and Senate, and that's going to change his final 2 years of his presidency. So a lot is riding on this for him, and I just think that's a dynamic that is almost impossible to succeed at.
I do think to this point about what Democrats are or aren't doing tonight.
They ain't doing nothing.
The leadership's decision to send a clear message that if you can't sit down and behave, don't come, that probably might end up being the right call, because creating a scene in that room, I don't know that that
But it's
works for
gonna get
Democrats.
good.
So for the people who didn't
They're
think that they
gonna
could sit
get
there without
good.
reacting, them not being in the room,
Well, I
I'm
think
not
some
sure it's
people
going to
will
make a
show up.
difference to the people
I think the
at
people that
home
are
one
likely
way
to
or
stand
another.
up on the Democratic side will be there in force. We noticed my friend and former colleague Al Green. He showed up. He made a scene last time.
Oh, man, there's the one with the
Dating back to my
brainworm.
time, sitting in the same row with
Christy Nome.
my calm, quiet colleague from South Carolina,
Christy
and Barack
Home.
Obama's president, and Joe Wilson
Joe
stands up and
Wilson
says,
called him
"You
a
lie."
liar. Yeah.
So since that moment, there will be something on the
Hello,
show
King.
tonight of some sort.
I
Count
That's
on it.
funny.
I think this will be a bad precedent for the Democrats, that they will rue the day they did this by not showing up. It's JV.
There's the White House Chief of Staff right next to Christy Nome as well. Jake, let's go back to you.
Thanks so much. Yeah,
Yeah,
Christy
see
Nome,
that.
who is, I think it's fair to use the term,
I don't know if you can hear me, Karen.
controversial and possibly even embattled, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. There is the president's family. We have Tiffany, Don Jr., Eric, Ivanka, and Barron, who is in college.
Barron's
There's
in
Energy
college.
Secretary Chris Wright. Is that correct?
Oh, my
That
goodness.
is.
Okay. And there's, of course, the First Lady,
Yep.
Melania Trump, First Lady and producer of a documentary about Melania Trump.
Oh.
Melania Trump.
Indeed.
Controversially run.
I got a
on Amazon.
documentary about me.
And that we're playing the parlor game, right, of trying to figure out who the designated
we've got
survivor. But Caitlin thinks she knows who it is. Who have you not seen? Who is the cabinet secretary? Do we need to explain what this is? Ever since the JFK assassination, one member of the cabinet does not attend the State of the Union in case the worst possible catastrophe happens. So there is somebody to run the country, and we know it is not Kristi Noem, it is not Lee Zeldin of the Environmental Protection Agency, it is not Sean Duffy of the Transportation Department, or Scott Bessent of the Treasury. So who tell us, Caitlin, who through your bingo?
And there's also small business there in the back. So the only person we haven't seen yet is Doug Collins, the Secretary for Veterans Affairs. We have not gotten confirmation yet that it is Doug Collins, but that appears to be just based on who we did see walking in the room there. According,
it's like a game of Clue that you're playing over here.
You know what I found interesting? Yeah, this is what I find entertaining these days. The Attorney General Pam Bondi was there as she walked by. Also, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and he said hello and greeted Chief Justice John Roberts, who of course wrote the entire opinion when we were looking at the president's tariff decision. Howard Lutnick obviously had been instrumental in working with the president on those tariffs and trying to broker these deals with countries that the president is now threatening those countries, saying they still need to adhere to them, despite what the Supreme Court decided on these tariffs. And so I thought that was a notable moment there, as we're obviously going to be watching to see how that happened. And I will just say real quick, Doug Collins was also the designated survivor last year.
He was last year as also. And for those wondering, of the four Supreme Court justices who showed up, including Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Kagan, Justice Kavanaugh, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, 3 out of those 4 voted against President Trump on his tariff.
Barrett,
and
in
Amy Coney
particular,
Barrett
is somebody that he appointed and is said to have particularly be angry at. And it was noteworthy to me that
Take it to your brother.
Marco Rubio walked across and seemed to go out of his way a little bit to shake Amy Coney Barrett's hand as he was one of the first cabinet secretaries down the aisle there. Another thing that stands out to me, too, is, Lutnick has been under some degree of fire for ties to Jeffrey Epstein, what he said in public about
lies,
what he claimed in public, and then, of course, what the files revealed about him. And, of course, you're seeing some of the Democrats that are there in the audience, of course, bringing survivors of Epstein, Virginia Giuffre's brother, there in the crowd. They're also wearing pins that say, release the files. The Speaker Emerita, Nancy Pelosi, one of those wearing that.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Bunch of bullshit. Okay. Okay. still there, Karen?
I'm gonna try a selfie.
All right. Well, the mystery about whether or not President Trump was going to take a left or a right, and whether or not he's going to, greet his Supreme Court. He did. He took the left, and he greeted and shook hands with all of the members of the Supreme Court in attendance.
Oh, he better had.
Including the three who voted against.
Somebody had to tell him to make sure he
We
takes
also saw him
that.
shake hands there with Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, which I've been watching for Democrats whose hands he might have shaken. An interesting one, to be sure.
Oh,
And
well.
also one who shows up on Fox News a
He
lot.
might not feel
watches
good.
him as he breaks with his own party.
Hey, Karen,
But
can
shaking
you
the
hear
hand
my
of
vocals?
Amy Coney Barrett is the most notable because he just
Yeah.
said the other day that she was an embarrassment to her family, that they should be ashamed of themselves.
He suggested that
rhinos.
the people who voted against him on tariffs were in the pockets of foreign
Without
foreign
evidence.
countries, and then he was asked for evidence. So you'll see. You can
Evidence
provide any
again.
evidence of this, Mr. President. You'll see.
I mean, this president often, many people will say to you, I'm sure everyone at this table has experienced the difference between President Trump when he is face-to-face with someone and President Trump when he's behind a screen or saying things in private. Oftentimes,
Cool.
especially
All right.
in moments like this, he knows the television production elements of it, and he is playing exactly to that. He's going to know exactly what it's going to look like.
He's also a president who demands loyalty and expects it from people that he puts in key positions, like a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court, and like someone with Amy Coney Barrett, that obviously came in at the last minute, right before he left office the last time.
Yeah, he was after he pardoned before the prosecution even really began. A Democratic Congressman Cuellar, he expressed anger that Cuellar didn't change parties.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Little Hitler. Oh, God. You got to be kidding me. I didn't believe this damn country was that stupid. Oh, well, that's only my 2
Well,
cents.
thank you very much, everybody. It's really an honor. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States. Second Lady of the United States. Members of Congress and my fellow Americans, our nation is back bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America.
He's a bum. He's a bum.
When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis.
Oh, here we go.
With a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages.
Let me beat my chest. Oh, man, they're going to kick him out again. Oh, snap. Don't grab. Uh-oh, getting ready to be a fight.
And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure.
They kicked him out again. Wow.
Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before.
Oh,
and our enemies
God.
are scared. Our military and police are stacked. And America is respected again, perhaps like never before.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, they got this man in the Bible. They got him in the Bible. They call him Lucifer. You know who Lucifer is.
After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far.
You know better than that shit.
In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States.
What, it's too weak for you?
But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country.
I'm not talking loud enough.
The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father.
Yeah,
Fred,
sure you did. Hitler.
Before he was
Big
born.
Hitler.
Substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But
I
in
hear you,
12
cool.
months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
You know he
Mortgage rates
lying.
are the lowest in 4 years and falling fast, and the annual cost of a typical new mortgage is
You know
down
he
almost
lying.
$5,000 just since I took office. 1 year. And low interest rates will solve the Biden-created housing problem well, at the same time protecting the values of those people who already own a house that really feel rich for the first time in their lives. We want to protect those values. We want to keep those values up. We're going to do both.
Oh, yeah, okay. Same shit you said to
And
get
we are going to
elected.
keep it that way.
Bullshit.
The stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election. Think of that. 1 year. Boosting pensions, 401ks, and
Took 'em away,
retirement
too.
accounts for the millions and millions of Americans. They're all gaining. Everybody's up, way up. In 4 long years, the last administration got less than
Don't believe the
$1
hype.
trillion in new investment in the United States. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe.
You stole it from the damn public. Now you're going to have to pay it back.
Think of it, much less than $1 trillion for 4 years versus much more than $18 trillion for 1 year. What a difference a president makes.
Oh, my God.
A short time ago, we
Come
were a
up here and
dead
pat him
country.
on his back.
Now we are
I'll
the
pat him
hottest
on his
country
back.
anywhere in the world. The hottest.
Let me come pat you on your back, baby. Come on. We'll pat you on your back. You know it.
As thousands of new businesses are forming and factories, plants, and laboratories are being built, we have added 70,000 new construction jobs in just a very short period of time. It's getting bigger and bigger and stronger. Nobody can believe what they're watching. American oil
Ain't nobody
production is
got no
up by more
damn
than
jobs they can afford.
600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil.
Oh, now they friends. You went in there and stole the oil.
American natural gas production is at an all-time high because I kept my promise to drill, baby, drill.
Look at these damn idiots behind him. Wow.
More Americans
that
are working
bullshit.
today than at any time in the history of our country. Think
He's
about
worse
that.
than a bully.
Any time in the history of our country, more working today. And 100% of all jobs created under my administration have been in the private sector.
And now I ask everybody who's watching or who will watch later on, is that true? You'll keep on believing that bullshit.
We ended DEI in America.
Ooh, DEI.
We cut a record number of job-killing regulations, and in 1 year we have lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps.
When
And for
everybody
all
else
these
go to
reasons,
hell,
I
that's
say
all you're
tonight,
going to be your
members
neighbors.
of Congress, the state of our union is strong.
Found out in November how strong you are. We'll find out. You know it, a lot of them are starving.
Our
He
country
met
is
E.T.
winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, I bet.
People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much.
Wow.
And I say, no, no, no. You're going to win
Unbelievable.
again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
This boy lost his damn mind. After you talk shit on the women's hockey team. Turn everything political. Good job, hockey team. Good job. You know it, Karen.
Go ahead.
You didn't do that, though, Trump. You didn't do that.
That's the first time I've ever seen them get up.
So don't.
And actually, not all of them did get up.
Oh, come on, man.
But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House.
No, they won't. They don't want to be. They don't want to hang out with you. They don't want to hang out with you. Because all you want to do is grab them by the woo-hoo. Yeah, they don't want to come there, pedophile. Trump, you ain't nothing but a pedophile, buddy. Your time is coming. They're coming for you. Yeah, look at their faces now.
They were in the Oval Office before.
Oh, yeah, I bet
And
they
I just
were.
want to say a second very big congratulations to Team USA. But I have to say that, and I told them this, and we took a vote of the team. I said, anybody votes no, I'm not doing it. So they stood there, and they weren't about to say no, because I've never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuck.
Oh, you know it, Karen. Hell, they keep on. They build it like they build shit around here. That shit won't be done until 20 years from now.
Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, The one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off. You practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Oh, man, now he's sucking. Oh, no, he didn't.
Great athletes have gotten that, very great, the best, and I thought he deserved it. And I did take a vote, every single one of them. I said, I'm not giving it if anybody goes no, and every single one of them rapidly put up their hand. So I want to thank you all. What a special job you did. What special champions you are. Thank you very much.
And that's what he does best, Karen. Blow hot air.
I'm also pleased to say that the next time the Olympic torch is lit, it will be here in America for the 2028 Olympics, and it's the summer version right in Los Angeles. We're going to do a good job in Los Angeles.
Maybe.
And Los Angeles is going to be safe, just like Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest cities in the country.
Oh, you're so full of shit.
And this year, and I must say I got them both. I got them in my first term, and I was disappointed because I didn't think I'd be the president when this happened. But strange things took place. And now I've got them because I got the Olympics and I got the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And I wanted to claim the 250th, but I didn't get away with that one. I couldn't claim that one for myself. But we're getting the World Cup. So we have the World Cup and the Olympics coming. And that is exciting news. So this will be a year to celebrate our country and the heroes who have kept it free. Men like Buddy Taggart. At age 17, Buddy volunteered to defend America in World War II, serving in the Pacific under the great General Douglas MacArthur. He fought bravely in the famous Battle of Manila.
I think something's wrong with the boy.
So hard. He was
I think something's wrong with him.
Killed by enemy machine guns in
I mean,
Luzon.
I know he's getting up there in age,
And
but
81
on a
years ago
serious
this month,
note,
he liberated
I think
the
something's wrong
largest
with him.
internment camp in the Philippines, one of the largest anywhere in the world. But he earned many honors, including a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star, came home, started a family, and tonight
And you
he's
didn't
in the
go
gallery
in
looking forward to
with
July
bone
4th,
spurs.
2026, his 100th birthday.
I thought there were suckers and losers. Oh, now, hey. Oh, thanks for your service, sir. Thanks for your service. Milana didn't even know who the hell she was standing up for. Looking lost during the headlight.
So, Buddy, you're a brave man, and we salute you. Even in times of challenge, setback, and immense heartache, the spirit of 1776 has always shone through very brightly. It was July 4th of last year when floodwaters tore through a girls' summer camp in Central Texas. One of the worst things I've ever seen. I was there, rising 26 feet in the matter of minutes, tragically claiming many, many lives. You all remember that one. As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClelland closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission, a young guy, but very brave, very, very top, always top in his class. And he lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety.
Good job. Good job. That's his job. Good job.
People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The winds were blowing, the rain was pouring, everything was going, and that rapid water, nobody's ever seen anything like it. They said, wow, that's something. Tonight, Scott and Millie Kate are here together, reunited for the very first time. Thank you, Scott, Millie Kate.
Be back on 1 second.
And Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you. And I'd like to have the military aide to please come down and take care of the service. Military aide, thank you very much.
I'm still here.
Take care of that very important service.
Video trying to act up.
From 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're really doing it for the next generation. But now it's our turn. Together we're building a nation where every child has the chance to reach higher and go further, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. That is the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us, and that is the promise we must keep.
Be right back. Got to get this thing working.
50th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans.
There we go. Yeah. I'm going to get this bad boy up.
All Democrats, every single one of them, voted against these really important and very necessary massive tax cuts. They wanted large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we also made interest on auto loans tax deductible
All right.
the first time, but only if the car is made in America. Recently in Pennsylvania, I met Megan Hemhauser, a devoted mom who's homeschools her children, beautiful, 2 children, during the day while waiting tables at night as her husband works overtime operating very heavy equipment. Megan is here this evening and she's happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and our expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half. Megan, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. We're fighting for you, Megan. Under our bill, parents like Megan can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And I didn't name it. I did not name that. Nobody believes me, but I did not name it. It was named by a very tall man sitting right there in the third row. Nice man, a good man. Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, who have donated $6.25 billion to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children. They're great people.
Well, Karen, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. I done seen enough
I
of
asked
them.
Michael Dell, how do you make all that money? He said,
I don't know why
well,
my
I just sat on
camera
my
acting
dorm
up.
in school, and I made computers, and I'd sell them to people. And I just kept selling and selling and selling, and pretty amazing story. That's called the American dream. He sold a lot of computers, a lot of those laptops, so I congratulate him on that, but I really thank him and Susan, as well as others like Brad Gerstner, a very tremendous guy. He was behind it right from the beginning. Brad
Lost
Gerstner,
about
thank you,
everything in
Brad.
here.
So with modest additional contributions, these young people's accounts could grow to over $100,000 or more by the time they turn 18. Think of it. How much money is that for somebody that started with nothing? Over 100,000, could be much more than that. To make this investment in our children's future, go to TrumpAccounts.gov.
Oh, Trump account.
TrumpAccounts.gov. And a lot of people are doing it. It's setting every record in the book. It's popular. They knew what it was going to take.
We want to catch everybody later. Appreciate y'all.
One of the primary reasons
Have a good
for our
one.
country's stunning
Stay out of
economic
trouble.
turnaround.
Thanks for logging in. Talk at you later.